Welcome to Shiloh Farm. I am so thankful that we can sit down and we can talk to each other. We can share with one another. We can write down a little nugget. We can think about what's been spoken today and say, hey, I'm going to thrive on that today. I'm going to listen to that and I'm going to go with it. That's what we're here for, the body of Christ, to encourage one another and strengthen each other, to see the good come out of one another, not to tear one another down, not to stress over something that might not happen. Mark Twain once said, he said, I have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. Isn't that how sometimes we live our lives, that we say we have so much going on and all this is happening all around me and this happened and that broke and this don't work and that happened. And you know what? Most of the time that we fret over, that we worry over, it doesn't happen. Or there's sometimes we can lay in our bed at night and conjure up all kinds of thoughts of, well, what's tomorrow and what's tomorrow going to bring, and well, next week, and because that happened last month. No, we can't live our life like that, unpredicted and not knowing. I am going to tell you, we don't know things that are happening. We don't know. The Lord has our future, not us, but I know that He cares for us. I know that He'll take care of us, so we're not to fret, and especially Job even said, the things that I fear the most came upon me. But you know what? We can't walk in that fear and that anxiousness and that anxiety. Now, that's just a little nugget before we get into our lesson today. I want to read to you in the devotions, Listen in Silence Before Me, out of my devotional book. And it says, it's funny that a title, position, or event can change your name. You think about some of the things that have happened to you, and you think, oh my goodness, I have so many accidents and I'm so accident prone, just call me accident. You don't want to do that. You don't want to call attention to your name. I remember growing up, I thought, why did my mom call me Phyllis? There was so many other names out there, Julie and Jane and all kinds of names out there. How did you call me Phyllis? But you know what? When I got older and after I became a Christian, I thought, what does Phyllis mean? And Phyllis means flourishing. Phyllis means foliage, evergreen, strong branches. And I think, man, I like that because I'm ever growing. And God sees that I'm a strong individual when I don't see that myself. But God says, hey, you're foliage, you're flourishing, you're ever growing. And so I like the name Phyllis. And so a title, a position, or event can change your name. Also, it can change your attitude. There's people that's got nicknames that has gone with them all their life because something, people made fun of them. People joked about them. Something bad happened to them, and it caused people to call them that, title that for the rest of their life, and that's their attitude. My dad always called me Phyllis until I was called into the ministry at the age of 20. And I don't know what happened, and a lot of people know that. For 46 years, they say, oh, I remember that. He'd always call you Sister Phil. He just changed. I don't know. It was a respect factor. But instead of calling me Phyllis, he'd call me Sister Phil. Some people didn't even know that I was his daughter sometimes because of the way that he titled me. And it was an immediate change, and it got people's attention, like, what has happened to him? What an immediate change. And people raised their eyebrows. Mr. Toby, what you doing? In 1 Chronicles 4, 9 and 10, it tells of a son named Jabez. Now, Jabez meant birth in pain. So every time someone looked at that child, the name meant birth in pain. All they could think about was pain. All they could think about was bad. They could think about, what it cost and nothing good about his name. And it says that one-time event caused his whole future to be titled pain. Now, isn't that something? You see somebody come up, oh, there's pain. Look at there, pain's coming. I mean, can you imagine how he felt? that one-time thing just changed his life. He could have walked his life out pained, resentful, and angry, but he reversed it through a petition to God. And you know what? There's that one-time event that might happen to you. Maybe a bitter divorce. Maybe an accident that happened. Maybe a relationship change. A job change. Something happened in your family. The loss of someone that you cherish so much, and it changed you. That one-time event just turned things around for you, and you know that you'll never be the same again. Instead of him walking in that forever, one thing that he did do is that he held on to God, and he went to God, and he petitioned him, and he said, "Bless me indeed. God, bless me. Turn this thing around. My name is Pain, but turn this thing around. Bless me. Make me shine. Cause me to rise above anything that I'm walking in." And he says, "Enlarge my territory and let your hand be upon me. Bless me. Just cause me to see no boundaries, that nothing stops me, that whatever I'm pegged by, that it's not going to stop me in the ways that you're going to bless me and the ways that I'm going to touch other people's lives." It says, "Keep me from evil. God, shield me from temptation, following the crowd. Help me not go the way of everybody else. If I was called pained, don't let me pain others," because this is what he says, "that I may not cause pain." Keep me from evil, that I don't hurt other people, that they don't walk in what I've had to walk in. That they, you hear that saying, hurting people hurt people. And that's exactly what happens. When you're hurting inside, you lash out, you do things to people. Well, this is something that he could have done. Jabez, because he was birthed in pain and his name meant pain, he could have immediately said to everybody, cause pain to everyone else. But he says, "Keep me from evil, that I might not cause pain." He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to make a trail of that, a generation from generation of that. He says this was his request. He asked to change his whole identity and the outcome of his future. He didn't want to be labeled a certain way, and that's how you see them. You know what? Just because I was a drug addict, you don't need to see me 46 years later as a drug addict. And there are still people that do. "Oh, that's Phyllis. That's the drug addict. That's Toby Ruth's daughter. They had to put up with that." Oh my goodness, you don't need to peg somebody like that. And it says his past would have predicted his whole life. And sometimes people will not let go of your past. People will sometimes say, "Well, that's the black sheep of the family." They always were the black sheep of the family. Oh my goodness, people change. People can change directions. People can change. Just because you're divorced doesn't mean that you're labeled divorced. You can live life. You can live life to the fullness because something didn't work out. You can, just because someone had a great job and they changed job positions because it's what they wanted to do, and even if they took less of money or they did it for whatever, and you sit there and judge them and say, "Well, they had this kind of job. What happened to them to change?" Sometimes it's a heart change. It's what they want to do, and they've always wanted to do it. They've always wanted to reach out. They've always wanted to walk in that position, and they just did other things. And it doesn't mean they're less of a person if they do something else because it's what they want to do. It says, what about the things that have happened to us that would have destined us? Just think about right now. And I don't want to bring up stuff that's going to cause you to sit in doom and gloom today. But what is something that has happened to you? Maybe something happened and it wasn't your fault, or something happened that you never would have thought. and it has really destined your life. It has helped, it causes you to make decisions. Do you know something could have happened in your childhood? And you're an adult now, and you're still reacting off of that. You take that into your relationships. You take that into your relationship with God. You know, some things happen to people, and you can't trust somebody. And so you don't trust everybody, and you don't trust anybody, and you don't even trust God, because something happened, someone hurt you, they let you down, promises were broken, and you still react off of that. You know what? I have friends, and sometimes they'll even correct me. Iron sharpens iron, and they'll say, don't treat me this way, because I'm not that person, because what happened to you years and years ago. I'm not that person. And I have to remind myself that you're correct. And I have to work on that. And I have to fix that. It says God can give us a future and a hope. God granted Jabez what he asked and reversed what could have trapped him the rest of his life. What is it that you're hanging on to, that you hold your head down, that God can take that and turn it around? When I had cancer last year and 4 major surgeries, and my face disfigured, and I'm still walking out some things, am I going to let that handicap me and stop me? Because I would have gone off of social media. I would have stopped videos. And for a season I had to, because there was no way I could make a public appearance. But as soon as I could, I did. And I had to overlook pride. I had to overlook, what will people say? It didn't matter. I had to obey the Lord. So I could have let that thing really handicap me, but I came out quicker, and the doctors were amazed of the changes. But I'll tell you, the reason why I'm a stronger person today is because I made myself. And do you know, I still make myself. That's what you're going to have to do today, is say, Phyllis, I've got to get a determined spirit to say, okay, God, help me, and help me make myself. Help me change this. Help me to reverse this, as it was for Jabez. It may be words that have been spoken over you. I've had words spoken over me that if I heard it and listened to it and dwelled on it, I would still be there in a disastrous area. It could be mistakes that you've made, that it feels like it's entitled into your forehead, and you're walking around with that. It could be the hauntings of your past. There are some things that have happened to people, they've never let it speak out of their mouths, never. But yet they have to live with it every day. And so if that's you, okay, God, maybe I may never speak this out of my mouth, but I speak it to you. I don't tell anybody else, but I got to speak it to you, what's happened. And you can get your healing from that, and you can get your freedom from that. God can do a restart for you. It's not too late. I have to do a restart, it seems like every day. You have to make a few attitude adjustments. You have to make a statement that, Lord, I surrender. I'm just going to surrender. I'm just going to give this to you. And start acting like you know where the bathroom is, even when you don't. That was a good lesson that was given to me quite some time ago, that you got to act like you know where you're going, even when you don't. You got to walk in your confidence. You got to walk in the confidence and trust in God. You got to let Him take your hand and carry you. This sounds like some good advice, because I sure have had to live by that. I walk by faith. I walk out in those challenges that God has for me. And I'll think, how am I going to do this? God, this is kind of scary for me. But yet God, in His sovereign power, always comes through for me. Now, what is it that you're struggling with today? What are you thinking about? What is hanging over your head today? What is your struggle that I've got to get over this. I've got to get past this. I've got to take on the newness of God and do a restart. He can do that for you. You trust him that he can do that. You might not can trust people. You might not can trust situations. You might not can trust your job. You might not can trust your mate because of disappointment. There might be something that you just can't totally trust, but you can trust God. And just say, God, I give this to you now. I surrender this to you now. And God is going to do a new thing in you. In Jesus' name, God bless you.